The Ambitious Africans podcast is building more than conversations. We're building a thinking community. If you're navigating a challenge, transition, or decision in your personal or professional journey, we invite you to share it with us using the link below. Selected reflections will be discussed in future episodes where other listeners will offer their perspective, insights, and lived experiences. This is not about having it all figured out. It's about learning out loud, hearing different viewpoints, and lightening the mental load by thinking together. Your submission can be anonymous, and the goal is perspective, not judgment. Go into the show notes below, fill out the form, and share your challenges, ideas, thoughts, and decision points with us, and we'll be more than happy to give you some directions. Dear ambitious African, this is your host, Secho. In this podcast, we'll discuss everything about our journeys and experiences towards achieving our goals for life and work as phenomenal change leaders in our varied communities. We'll feature other ambitious Africans crushing it through arts, social activism, tech innovations, entrepreneurship, and positive lifestyle and holistic well-being. We are the generation that is redefining Africa as we know it, and as an ambitious African, now is the time to get involved. Give us your feedback and ideas for our next podcast, and let's keep the conversations going. See you inside. Hi, welcome to the Ambitious Africans podcast. This is your host, Secho, and I hope you've had an amazing day today. It's currently midday. This would be the first time I'm recording any episode during the day, which is wild to think about because I always record at night when you know the day has passed and I'm reflective. I think that's when a bit of the things I've been meaning to talk to you about, like they're settling and I'm finding my words, I'm finding language. When they all come together, and today is going to be a series of different thoughts in my head and not necessarily one topic. When I say I want us to have a thinking community here, I don't say it lightly. I don't know if you ever know what a thinking community is, or if you've ever heard of a thinking community. To be honest, I would say it is God's framing, like it's God's wording of what this community should be like, because I couldn't have think about a better name to really capture the essence of what kind of community I want us to build. And I don't want us to build a community because it's the in thing, like, oh, build a community, get a bunch of people to huddle around you or your cause just for the sake of it, just so you can feel important. No, I want you to be part of this community, not because it's the in thing, like I said, but because genuinely it has become a space where you can think along people. We are going into an era where depth is going to become super important. No longer are we going to be satisfied with flimsy, quick fixes, clickbait kind of conversations or content. We are going to value more deeper conversations, because a lot of the things that we have held on to over the past few years as keys to success are changing and are shifting. And when things are changing and shifting like that, the obvious thing, usually it's not so obvious, but it's either you pause or life will make you pause. Life, it's either you you sense it and give yourself a few moments to say, wait a minute, I need to understand what's going. There seems to be a pattern here. There seems to be a thread of things happening. I need to step back, take some time and really assess what's happening. Or life would make you pause, where you're trying everything which you were told would be your keys to success, and they're not working. They're constantly not working. So at some point you'll be like, I'm tired. I'm just drained. And the desperation, the frustration is just too much. And I just need I just need some time off, right? And that is life's way of making you pause. And so when I say that I want us to have a thinking community or be in a thinking community, it is so we can have these kind of thought processes happen in tandem with life as it's unfolding and life as it is evolving. And I don't think that the level of challenges that we're experiencing are different from that of previous generations. Previous generations have had it hard. I'm telling you, they've had it very hard. In some aspects of their life, it was hard. In some aspects, it was easier compared to ours. And it's the same. That's just how life is what I am understanding it, because even when people say the good old days, they're always going to look at it from one particular aspect of their lives. So maybe in terms of, the food culture or access to food or access to basic necessities, the good old days were the good old days. You can easily access these things. But if you look at other things about free movement and access to the world, you wouldn't say that. You would say those were not the good old days. It was tough to be black outside of the continent. It was quite tough to be African. It was quite tough to even experience some exposures being African back then. Or think about, post-independence societies. In one way, it was the good old days because there was so much hope in the air around the future. Black people are going to regain the dignity and respect they deserve, and life was going to be on our own terms, right? And then there are coup d'etats, and there's this, and there's that, there's this, there's that. But in the sense of the few moments after, this independence, just that feeling alone by itself felt like the good old days for those moments. But beyond that, as different struggles came up, if you look at it differently from a different aspect of their lives, they'll say, it wasn't really the good old days. There was famine, there were insecurity, there were lots of things happening, and the hope that they might have clung to were stolen from them. Like, there's so many things. And in our own generation, the definition of these challenges or struggles may be different, but they have the same pattern as life being life. And for us, it's important to have that definition of what this current generation, this current system looks like. I talk about systems a bit more because I like to have a systems thinking approach to life, like to every facet of my life. That might be a conversation for a different day, but I value seeing how things operate in a context, and for me that context has been, okay, what systems are enabling these kind of activities, actions, and cultural practices. But for us as a generation, it's important for us to have that definition. We need to have a moment to list out all the different challenges and what they look like for us right now. I can attempt some, whilst we are here. The first is access to opportunities. The world is changing, and is shifting in a way where access to opportunities is evolving. It will not look the same way. If before it looked like aid, it looked like scholarships, it looked like grants and things like that. Those things will still happen, but it seems like those things are taking a downturn, right? It's not becoming as prominent as before, which means that if you're able to access some of these opportunities, don't necessarily think yourself as super lucky or things like that, but see it as your opportunity to build something beyond that for the next person. That's if you ever think about the next person. There's some people who choose not to think about the next person, which is fine because we already have enough on our tables as it is. But at some point, it would be helpful to think about it, because if you think systems thinking, if you have systems thinking, you can appreciate how the actions of one affects the collective, and how the collective, in response to that, individual action, impact that individual in some different ways. So it's always good to think partially about the next person. But that's just by the way. So the level of access to opportunities is changing, and I want you to be aware of that. I want you to not always be on the receiving end of some of these changes. I want you to build a muscle to see where the world is going, not out of fear, but genuine curiosity. The thing about our generation is that we've been really trained to adapt well. We literally became adults in a time where all the things that we thought would work to help us achieve other things are like, no, they're not working. So we're redefining what that means. We're finding our own rules. We are testing our own things to make sure what's working, what's not working. And we are not even complaining. It's beautiful. We are not even complaining about it. We hear older people talk about it out of concern. But for us, I don't think we are complaining as much. But when we do complain, this is not to invalidate it or dismiss it, but it is what it is. So it's always good to know what's happening as the world progresses. And the second thing that's also evolving is the unraveling of things we have believed. So this is slightly tied to access to opportunities, but I'll give you a practical example. All of a sudden, we are becoming more and more aware of what's real, what's not, in the sense that you can know if an influencer is saying something because they were paid, and you can know even if they were not paid, you still can't trust what they're saying because they are just influencing. That I'm just describing that scenario. So like we are getting good at knowing what's real, practical, authentic, and what's sponsored, promoted, and motivated. Yes, we are becoming good at telling, like reading in between the lines. And so it means that a lot of the things that we have believed from the past about different things, feeding, how to negotiate things, all those things, the belief in them is changing, right? I'm not saying the content in itself is changing. The content is still there. But for us, our reliance and belief in them are changing. Now we are seeing through all of it. So if it was a big marketing campaign, everybody's looking at it like, no, it's not. It's not what they say. Don't believe these things. Not everything is as they seem. Do not believe what you hear in the news. Do not believe what you read online. Like, essentially is what I'm also sensing. That's another definition. I think the last one I will attempt, and all of this is coming from the top of my mind, is our assessment of jobs, right? Our assessment of jobs is always such a hidden gem. Like, let me give you an example. I don't know if the example makes the point I want to make or makes the point I want to describe. It's confusing in my head. But let me give you this example. Currently, it's actually a fact of life. The way you assess an opportunity determines what it turns out to be. Let's say, for example, you got, this opportunity to work in this company, and let's say you are you work in the warehouse. Let's guess you work in the warehouse and you're doing all this moving items, taking things from, and you're on your feet the whole day, moving things from one place to the other. And if you, let's say for example, if you live abroad, you're doing this work, it's cold, the pay is not so great, but you're just doing this, right? For you, the initial assessment of opportunity was the call for applications, right? That was your first assessment of an opportunity at this warehouse. But now that you are in there, there is also different opportunities that if you open your eyes to and can connect a few dots, you could leverage. So now that you're already working there, you see that there's something happening. You're like, why is it that it takes me and my colleagues, let's say 45 minutes to get a response when we are told to pack somebody's order? And can there be something we can do about this? Because if it's taking 45 minutes and we are paid per hour, it means that 45 minutes is like taking money off of our hours. But that is in your own mind, your motivation to see this problem. For someone, they will be complaining about it. Someone will be like, these people say they pay us per hour, but then whenever the orders come, it takes 45 minutes for them to respond on the specifications, and so we are always getting paid small hours, which is fine. Another person who can see an opportunity will see this same problem and be like, oh, okay, I think I can, propose a solution, and you might never know, it might be an opportunity for me to move from the warehouse to work as a clerk or something. I don't know. So you think of it that way, and then you say, okay, let me just at least have a conversation with the floor manager and say, oh, I've noticed it takes 45 minutes to receive order specifications. That 45 minutes is costing precious time in finally getting the things delivered. I don't know what happens in that 45 minutes, but I felt this is something I should let you know so that perhaps we can find a solution around. This is something I'm passionate about, helping you solve, because it would boost productivity, it would boost morale, it would get people to keep up momentum as they're working, because it's always not a great productive. We are not able to do so much if orders comes in and out, and then it's like there's this 45 minutes window where we are literally like doing not so much. It just breaks momentum and we can't get a lot done. So you say that to this floor manager, and the conversation could go anywhere. They could say, no, it's fine, we are aware of it, there's no problem. Or they could say, actually, it's true. And it could go on and on. They speak to their manager, like it could go anywhere. And this wasn't something they told you front facing externally that this is an opportunity, but because you're able to see these things, you're able to assess opportunities. And that is the point, that the way we can assess opportunity in and of itself, that entire skill and that entire perspective is also changing. And so for you, your priority is first understanding that access to opportunities is changing. Two, the belief systems, what we have believed about succeeding, getting things done, and all these things is also changing. If you combine the two, then it should take you to the third point, which is your assessment of opportunities is also something that is evolving as a result of these two dynamics. So now people's belief systems on even providing these opportunities is changing. So the way they are going to even give you access to the opportunities is changing. And so for you, your ability to assess new opportunities, fresh opportunities, unthought of opportunities is now going to be the new skill you have to design for yourself. And one thing I love about us being Africans is that we are resourceful. I feel like Africans are one of the hardest people to sell to, but then once you sell to them and they love you for a long time until you flop, and then they give you a warning. But like when Africans love you, they love you for a long time. That is my own assessment of it. Obviously, because I'm African, I know my people. Yes. But I also do value how the difficulty in selling to us is based on our resourcefulness. There are lots of things we can do for ourselves. because we've been put in situations where we didn't throw money at our problems because there was no money to throw at the problems. So we were put in these situations where we needed to figure out how to get things done. And so some of the things that, other people pay for in terms of services and things outside of our environment, it actually surprises us. It actually is surprising because we are like, you pay for this? It's like, oh, okay, that's nice. We are very resourceful. And so it means that for us, our ability to spot opportunities is not the issue. I think the issue now is being aware that, we need to change and shift our skills a little, just a little bit. Like we need to shine our eyes better. We have to shine our eyes better, because the problem, we don't have a problem of knowing when opportunity is looking at us. We can easily do the two and two together, connect the dots, and know that this is where the opportunity could come from. But then now we need to be able to sharpen that scale to see where else it can come from, because where we believed it existed no longer, are reaping those results. And so those are some of the definitions of what our generations have to grapple with in terms of, I guess, categorizing the challenges we have to solve for. It also means there are different experiences that we can have when we attempt to surmount these challenges or these different dynamics. And one of the things that I want to encourage you is to have an appetite for curiosity and just being curious at things. And I am a deeply curious person. I really hate not knowing. There was one time, let me tell you a quick story. Now I'm going off a tangent, but there was one time I worked with one senior executive of a firm. I'm not going to give details because then you'll know. But I worked with a top senior executive of a firm, and they had this FOMO to their life. Like, they were constantly living in FOMO. They wanted to know everything. Like, and sometimes it was so annoying because they want to know everything. They're always having to grapple with so much information to finally make a decision. And so there's a lot of decision paralysis happening. So there's some things that you really need quick response to. It was not going to happen. But I value the fact that he always lived in this FOMO feel, if I can call it that way. Like, FOMO means fear of missing out. But his was really in a sense of fear of not knowing what's happening, because he always knows what's happening. He wants to know what's happening in the trends. He wants to know what's happening in different things, cultural things, scientific things, business things, religious things. Like, he wants to know what's happening every single time. And that level of curiosity stayed with me, because working with him directly really validated my curiosity that was almost dying out. And so I have come to really deeply love the fact that I'm curious. And it's some things like simply asking people, what's happening here? Why is it packaged this way? Or even asking Google, like I do sometimes. You might open a whole new world to you. So yeah, develop a stronger appetite for curiosity. Do not let anything pass by you without asking questions. I hope you can live with your brain and with yourself if you choose to live in that way. But you should also know how to tone it down. But I guess you get my point. Like pride yourself in being so curious. Like, be so proud that you're so curious, because soon enough you know a lot about everything, and you know a little about everything as well. It's such a beautiful dynamic to live in. But if you live at the intersection of curiosity and genuine want to help people, that is even an amazing mix. That is where you can see where dots align. One place you work in or one place you have experience can come together to support some people you care about. So much can come out of that. The last thing I want to say, because we spent some time and I've just shared really what's on my heart. Like I said, there wasn't one thing that as a topic that I was coming to, but at the end of the day, I think we found our way here. The last thing I also want to share is that your the level of curiosity you also engage should also have a level of curiosity with how tools work, how online tech tools work. um and I don't want you to look at it rather as you want to be a tech person, but because you are genuinely a curious person. So it just so happens in the online world you can also take your curiosity there. And even in the offline world, it might even also look like knowing how actual handy tools work. It's the same principle in different applications. I really want you to harvest a lot of the things that I have said in this episode in a way that makes sense for you and brings you a lot of value. I have spoken a lot of vagueness, but I am still unpacking these thoughts processes. But I just wanted to come to you with what I currently have, and let me know if you're also sensing that there's change, there's a shift in the world that's happening system wide, and what do you think that is? What do you think is changing, and which areas of life do you think those shifts are going to happen in or are going to impact, especially from our African context? Thank you so much for sticking with me throughout this episode and thinking alongside me throughout this episode. I really want to hear from you. So if you have any thoughts, ideas, send me a DM, put it in the comment sections. We've had some amazing comments so far. And in the next episode, I'm going to go through some of them so that you can see how much your comments and engagement are really meant to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We are almost at 100 followers at the time I upload this episode. 100 subscribers, on YouTube. And I am still thinking of doing a little giveaway to some of my most loyal subscribers so far. But thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.